This is the continuation of InDesign Tutorial 2, just where we left off. So we put in our type on a curve. I want to just show you how to adjust that type on a curve. So you typed in testing type on a curve. We created that with the pen tool using creating Bezier curves. Okay, so what I do want to do is I want to click on the white arrow, second arrow or second tool down. When I do that and I click on here, you'll notice that it gives me handles, just like in Illustrator. Some of you who have worked in Illustrator, it's the same idea where you can change, you can make the curve bigger with your handles, you can change the directions. If you click on the points, you can change the length of the direction, and so forth, by pulling on these handles. Let's see. You can also, if you make it wider, make the whole image wider. You can also, on here, if you click on the pen tool and the flyout comes out, you can add more anchor points or delete anchor points or convert them. So I'll show you what everyone does. So if you click add anchor point tool and I want to add, let's just say I want another point, because the only reason why you'd want to add another point is if you wanted another curve. So I'm just going to click on the line to add another point. So notice now when I click on that, it'll give me another point to add a curve, and I can hold on to those handles, make them wider on one side, curve it differently. Okay, so it gives you a lot of adjustment. Okay, see how you do that? If I want to do the same thing, if I wanted to delete an anchor point, highlight the delete anchor point, you just click on one of the circles, which are the pen points, and click, and it's gone. Okay. So you can always adjust it down. So now I added one, but I deleted one also. Convert the direction point tool. So this is if you have a point, and then sometimes you're gonna need to make an angle. Let me make a scenario going on here. So if you had an angle and you wanted your curve to sort of go down that way, it's only going to let you do so much. So if you needed to make a real drastic turn, that's when you would, or curve, that's when you would do convert direction point tool. So if I clicked it, see how it now made my point go really down to a point? It's a curve, but it's a more angular point, because you cannot make this type of a shape with the Bezier tool. So that's when you would use that type of scenario. The only other thing I wanted to show you with this tutorial is if bringing in images. Okay, so I'm definitely going to pull up my pages so I can see how many pages I have. So I'm going to pull out another page and just show you a few things about images. Actually, and if you need to create a background color, what you need to do is create a box and fill that box with a color. Okay, let's just say I'll say it was a green color. So I'm going to make a few different items to show you. If you wanted to take that box and duplicate it, let's just say I wanted to do a gradient. I can double click on my gradient swatch tool, and now it's giving me a blend gradient bar. I can tell, it asks you, do you want a linear or a radial? Let's click linear for now. Automatically it gives me two little boxes. I can fill those with any colors I want. I'm just going to double click it. Sometimes it comes up, sometimes it doesn't. Under window, you're going to do color swatches. So when I click on the one, I can click on whatever color I want, and actually I can click it and drag it onto here, And you'll notice that the blue is now on one side of my blend. I still have a black blend. I can adjust how I want my blend. You can pull this over. You can have it just become blue at the end. This is your middle point with your blend. You can change the angle of your blend. See, I can change the angle. I'm going to put it back to 0 though. I can also make it a radial. Now this is a radial, but what I would do for a radial, personally, is I would add another color point. So you can click and then add another point of color in there. And take your black on your swatches and drop it on that last one. So now you'll see if this box was wider. You can do as many colors as you want with the blend. It depends on, you have to take a look and see what you like. Let's see. You can do blues here. You can add another point and do white. Let's see, and keep my other blue here. So now I'm bringing in all different points. I'm going to do linear. See, now if I do a linear, now you can have with more adjustment here. Have your white in the middle. So you'd have to play around with what you want, but this is how you get around doing types of blends. I also want to show you how to bring in images. So if you do, and sizing images also. So File Place will allow you to look for an image to drop in. So I am going to drop in, let's see. Find something to drop in here. Going to find, I'm going to drop in just any old image. Okay. Okay, so I dropped in an image, File Place. It brings it in an image. I want to resize that image, so you need to make sure this lock is in the lock position, not the unlock. And then you can adjust by selecting it down to whatever you want to shrink it. Okay. You can also that's how you would make it larger, make it smaller. You can also do 150 in smaller increments and make it smaller, make it bigger. You can also add an InDesign opacity to your images up here on the measurement bar. Right here, this percentage, you can make your image semi-transparent. Okay, and give it a little transparency. You can also, here, I'm going to copy that and do one transparent. Whoops. Okay, so I'm going to make a small one transparent. You should follow along with this tutorial. Also, actually, with the transparent one, let's give it a stroke. So you pick a color on your stroke. Let's see. I'll make it red. And you want to increase your stroke color. Notice that your stroke gets affected by the transparency also. Now with this image, what we're going to do is there are different effects. If you pull down Object Effects to drop shadow, you could do an inner shadow, drop shadow, outer glow, all types of stuff. There's something called a feather here too. So let's give a drop shadow first. So it gives you a whole bar. I'm going to click preview to see what I'm doing here. So you'll notice you can adjust the size of your blend, the spread, the dark, how dark you want it, how light you want it, even the color of your, if you want it to be a purpley magenta type drop shadow, you could do that, okay? Whatever color you want. So I gave it a drop shadow with the color, okay? The only other thing I wanted to show you with this, I'm going to make this one smaller also. Like I said, you should do all these so I see that you're practicing a bit. I also wanted to show you something. So in the effects, take off the drop shadow. So if you highlight it, you can just uncheck it and it'll go away. There's something called a basic feather. So a basic feather, and again I have my preview on here. If you click on your feather, notice how a feather gives you just like a soft edge. That's used a lot. Noise is just some, if you notice when you put a lot of noise, there's white dots around it. I would do just a gentle little bit of noise. Corners diffused or sharp, rounded. Okay, so you have different choices. If you did rounded, I would give it more of a feather to soften the edges. So you can specify what you'd like. So these are just different ideas that you can do. You can also take your image and flip it the other way. So now it's just like Photoshop. You can just flip it in the opposite direction just by pulling on the these handles. Okay. Let's see. There's also a lot that you can do in InDesign. I'm just trying to give you some basics here. Let's see. Okay, and the last thing I want to show you how to do on this tutorial quickly is just to create a table. Tables are very easy to put together in InDesign. So what you want to do is you want to create a text box. So with your text box, get on your pointers tool and click your text box. Then you want to do, let's see, you want to do table, pull down to create table. Let's see if I can adjust this here. So it would be table, create table. You'd tell it how many rows, how many columns. Hit OK, and it will automatically, whoops, I have to drag it out again. It'll automatically create it for you. So you can put in you could do days of the week. Works a lot like Word or Excel. No, more like Word. If you were typing in text and then you highlight it across and then you can merge your cells, then you'd have, you can make it larger, you can adjust the alignment, you can change the font, same idea. Monday, whoops, Tuesday. So it automatically is waiting for your text. Okay, I can adjust the size, the bottom part of my rows. I can add more rows. Let's just say we were doing a weekly calendar. Okay, highlight the row, right click, insert row, and you can say below. You could also do the same thing with deleting rows. Delete row. Okay. Same thing. So that's the idea, and then you can highlight it and add a color bar and vice versa. So that's the idea with tables. So I'm going to say that's the end of this tutorial. Then we're going to start to do some design work tutorials. So stay tuned. Good job.